Now, if Harley Davidsons mean nothing to you, you may want to spend the next 8 minutes on the Argos website shopping for Christmas, or maybe on the Bike World YouTube channel having a look at fast bikes going fast everywhere. If Harley Davidsons do mean something to you, stick around. We're here to talk about the 2018 Softail range. The good or bad thing about Harley Davidsons, for me and for some of you, is the fact that in the last, let's say, 40 or 50 years, the outline shape of them has changed very, very little. They kind of look pretty much now how they used to look when Jesus was a boy. The Softail range in particular is 33 years old. It's been around since 1984. Originally, the Softail idea was born out of somebody else's garage rather than the Harley Davidson brothers. There was a guy in the 70s who loved rigid looking Harleys, but he was bashing his back to pieces riding his. So he designed and developed his own kind of custom suspension system that lived underneath the seat of his rigid bike, which gave it basically a soft tail. I think suddenly Harley Davidson realised that they might have been onto a good thing if they snapped the idea up themselves, so they bought the design, took it in-house, and in 1984 they rolled out the 80-inch FXT Softail. So fast forward to 2017, the range, the Softail range, needs an upgrade. Needed a bit of a kick up the bum, and it definitely has had a really good kick up the arm. The bikes that we rode in Barcelona, we chose to ride the Heritage, we rode the Street Bob, we rode the Breakout, and we rode the Fat Bob. The whole range in itself is far lighter than it's ever been. All new chassis, proper suspension on the Fat Bob, upside down forks, twin discs. The other big change and big addition to the Softail range is the Milwaukee 8 motors. So you have a 107-inch and 114-inch. Off the top of my head, that's something like 1760cc and 1820cc, something like that. They're both huge. The Street Bob is the one that captured my attention. It's the one that the guys that I rode with from Milwaukee have described as the gateway Harley. The bike itself is very, very good. Where you go after you've tried Street Bob among the rest of the Harleys that are available, that's kind of your choice. The great thing about Harleys, again, is there is so much choice across all of the bikes that they do, all of the accessories that they do. Like I said at the start, you either get that stuff or you don't. But what I'm going to try and do now and today is stick to how these bikes look and feel when you ride them and the difference between the four that I rode. Let's go downstairs and take a look at them. And here it is, the 2018 Harley Davidson Softail Street Bob. We'll come back to this one and focus on it, not only because it was my favourite one of the range, but also I think this is the most important one to people that don't have any experience of Harley Davidsons at all. We're going to go over there and have a look at the other bikes that we rode out in Spain in Barcelona. This is the Breakout, 240 section rear tyre, kind of drag race inspired, big, wide, flat bars, stripped down clocks. It's a go straight bike in the nicest possible way. It's quite hard to ride. You have to muscle this bike into corners. You've got to hold it into the corners. Because of that big fat tyre, all it wants to do is pop back up. The great thing about that back tyre, aside from the fact that it looks cool, is that it's a straight line cruiser. Lots of bikers, remember, like just cruising in a straight line. Not everybody is obsessed with wheelies, not everybody is obsessed with track days, not everybody is obsessed with knee down. If just bopping around on a bike is your thing, Breakout is absolutely perfect. It's full of attitude. It's a great looking bike. So this is the bike we started our 2-day ride in Barcelona on. It's called the Fat Bob. The way that you can tell it's called the Fat Bob is because it has a 160 section tyre at the front and a 180 at the back. Wide bars, this sweet 2-into-1-into-2 exhaust. Again, the distinctive LED headlight, distinctive to the other bikes in Softail range, and twin discs up front. I'm going to keep banging on about that, and I know lots of you at home will think that it's garbage, the fact that they've suddenly gone to upside down forks and twin disc brakes. It's a big step for Harley Davidson, and it definitely has an impact on how this bike rides and handles out on the road. I didn't really enjoy it, I'll be honest. That 160 section tyre at the front, it's a bit too big for me. I'm quite a lazy rider. I like going fast, but I'm quite lazy in finding that fast. This is the one that everybody at Harley thinks will sell the best in the UK. It certainly looks cool. It's a cool looking thing. I do get it. It's just not my kind of Harley Davidson. This is the Heritage. Now, Heritage was a little bit of a dark horse for me. It looks like something out of chips, looks like something from the olden days, but with that new motor in it, I think you can have the choice of 107 or 114, and with tyres that match each other front and back. That new chassis design is a little bit of a hot rod. I ended up saying that it felt like I'd borrowed my dad's comfy old car, only to get in it and find out that he's absolutely tuned the balls out of it, and it was really quick. Yes, it weighs 330 kilograms. Yes, that's a lot of weight if you're comparing these to sports bikes, but compare these to other bikes like this, and you shouldn't really care. If you're in the market for a big cruiser like this, weight isn't really an issue. Usable pannier space, a big screen that you can take off really easily, leave it in the garage if you fancy leaving it in the garage, seamless drive, 6-speed gearbox, whooshing up to 100 miles an hour, with enough pace to make you smile. So what is it about this 2018 Softail Street Bob that grabbed my attention more than any of the other bikes in the Softail range? I think initially my benchmark when I got on this bike was the fact that in 2008 I test rode the new, in 2008, funny old thing, Street Bob from back then, and I wrote that it had this slightly detached feeling from front to back. I think I even said that it felt like the front was batting its head and the rear was rubbing its belly. It just wasn't quite in tune with itself, and it would eventually, if you're in a long corner trying to go fast, start with a little weave and then turn into something quite scary that I didn't like. The new chassis in the Softail range absolutely eliminates all of that feeling. So there's this real connection between front and back, and also from side to side. The 150 section tyre at the rear works with that tyre at the front. I think it's a 130. So you get some real kind of fluidity when you're changing the line mid-corner or when you're changing direction. It does absolutely everything. There is only 28.5 degrees of lean angle from the left-hand side and the same from the right-hand side. So MotoGP, this is not. But again, it's that Harley experience that we're looking for here. We're not comparing this to anything else. Visually, the thing that appealed to me the most about this is it's very, very Harley Davidson. That might sound a little bit stupid, but what I'm saying is if you're going to have one, I think you've got to go all in. You need these bars that keep your hands up in the air. You need these pegs out front that make you feel like you're definitely riding a Harley Davidson. Not only does it say it, but it makes you feel it. And that connection with the bike and the brand, without getting too kind of fluffy and too carried away with the emotion of riding bikes, is something that they've absolutely nailed with this bike. Yes, it's a massive evolution in terms of the chassis changes and the new motor changes and everything like that. But if you line this up with a Harley from 30 years ago, it still pretty much looks the same. Much the same as the evolution of things like cans of Budweiser and Porsche 911s. They're miles down the road from where they used to be, and the changes are significant, but at the same time, they still make you feel like you're connected to what the original ethos of the design was. Street Bob absolutely smacks that clean on the head. And also, interestingly for me, of all of the bikes here, I think this is the cheapest, 12,295 quid. So the devil is in the detail with the whole of the Softail range. Little things like the headstock housing all of the clock set that you need. You can hardly see it when you're looking at it, but when you're riding, it's all there for you to see and it's easy to use. This 2018 Softail range represents part of the new direction that Harley are going in with regards to how many new bikes they're going to launch. They've promised on the launch over the next 10 years, we're going to see 100 new models from Harley Davidson. One of them by 2020, all electric, that live wire bike that you might have seen on YouTube or at various shows around the world, that's coming. That'll be a production bike by 2020. Harley Davidson have been around forever. Like this store, it's the oldest Harley Davidson store in Europe. They're not going anywhere. The customers here are just as happy buying 8 grand used sporties over there as they are spending 50 grand out the back with Charlie, the custom builder here. He is stacked, working 24 hours a day, building probably 30 or 40 custom bikes a year, big ticket, 50 grand bikes. Some of us might look and laugh, some of us might get it. Regardless of what your opinion of Harley Davidson is, they're not going anywhere. And if anything, all they're doing is getting better and better with every new bike they bring out. So at the end of every other piece of TV that I do like this, where I'm talking about new bikes, I always try and push you guys into showrooms to ask for a test ride and go and figure these out for yourself. I think if you came here, what you'd find is very different to your average bike dealer. There is no hard sell because pretty much everybody that walks through the door has already made that decision that they want a Harley Davidson. All that you need to do is ask for the keyless key. These are keyless now. Come in and ask for one of these, stick it in your pocket, go on out and have a test ride. You'll see for yourself. If you're not ready now, give it a couple of years. I guarantee you will be.